Tonight, we begin right here in the United States. The impeachment inquiry into U.S. President Donald Trump has reached a critical juncture on Wednesday as lawmakers launch their first televised public hearings, marking a new high-stakes phase of Trump's presidency. Democrats leading the U.S. House of Representatives probe have summoned 3 U.S. diplomats, all of whom have previously expressed alarm in closed-door testimonies about Trump's dealings with Ukraine, to detail their concerns under the glare of wall-to-wall news coverage. Trump's fellow Republicans are also going to question the witnesses and have crafted a defense strategy to argue he did nothing wrong when he asked the Ukrainian president to investigate political rival Joe Biden. Now, for more on the Trump public impeachment hearings, I'm joined live from Capitol Hill by Katherine Gypson, VOA's Congressional Correspondent. Good morning, Katherine.
Good morning.
The hearing started about 2 hours ago. What are your observations so far?
Well, what I really want to emphasize is how this really sums up the arguments from the Republican and the Democratic side. This is their first opportunity to make their case to the American people because it's the first time that the witnesses have been out in public in hearings. We've had plenty of closed-door testimony. Both sides already know what they think about this case. Now it's up to the American people to decide, should President Trump be removed from office because he committed those 3 things that are laid out in the U.S. Constitution that can remove a president: high crimes and misdemeanors, treason, or bribery. Democrats say that the president has clearly committed bribery by withholding congressionally approved U.S. aid in return for help with his domestic political interests. Republicans point out that that aid was eventually released to Ukraine and that the president ultimately never got information on his political rival Joe Biden and his son Hunter. Those are the 2 arguments. Now it's up to the American people to decide, should Trump be impeached in the U.S. House of Representatives.
Now, Katherine, if you will, our African viewers are watching this as it happens. This is historic. Could you explain to our viewers what's the difference in the strategy being employed by the Democrats and the Republicans in this inquiry?
Right. So both sides are looking to convince the American public, as I mentioned before. But what the Democrats want to do is lay out a broader case that comes off of that July 25th phone call between President Trump and the Ukrainian President Zelensky. They say that they've built a broader picture of how the Trump administration was subverting traditional U.S. foreign policy channels in favor of the president's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, and the president's personal political interests. Republicans I've spoken to keep saying that all you have to do is go back to that July 25th phone call and read the summary that the White House released. When they read that summary, they see no wrongdoing on the part of the president. Those are the 2 strategies that they have to get through, and it depends on whether the American people, which one they buy. Now, we do know that the polling data is slowly creeping upwards to support the impeachment of President Trump, and that may significantly change now that we're having these public hearings.
Katherine, very briefly, do you feel, as you watch this and you have been covering this, that the base supporters of President Trump are moved by this 6-week investigation that is continuing as he campaigns for the 2020 re-election?
Well, of course, we are in our first day of hearings here, so we will have to see and wait and see how that plays out. But what we do know about the president's political base is that it rarely changes. There is a core group of about 30 to 35% of voters here in the United States that are loyal to the president and that will stick with him no matter what.
Katherine, thank you so much for your insight. VOA's Congressional Correspondent Katherine Gypson reporting live for us from Capitol Hill.